Cheers, VCers. Just doing some iced coffee, my famous iced coffee recipe. You could see it on one of my videos. I did a short with using the coffee song, Frank Sinatra. If you haven't heard that, unbelievable Sinatra. It was on his label, Reprise. I may have been on his first Reprise record, but it's the coffee song. And I did it. There's no iced coffee song that I know of, so it was a hot coffee song. So today I have a video I've been thinking of doing for a couple of weeks, and I just didn't have the, everything lined up, the records lined up. I had to pull some albums and do some more research. I did, a little bit of research, which I'm going to share with you guys now. But this record is about the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. Well, Lou Reed passed away a few years back. I just read his book, The Life of Lou Reed, by a gentleman, last name's Wall. So I read the book, and I was supposed to bring it down, but it's upstairs. But when I read books on rock people or rock bands or artists, I usually go back and revisit their catalog of what I have. And that's what I did with Lou Reed. And I read some interesting facts in there. Lou Reed had like I indicated in a previous video, Lou Reed had a troubled early life. His parents didn't like how they thought he was behaving. Some of his tendencies weren't with the standards of the 50s, late 50s. So, they sent him to a facility, and he actually had electric shock therapy multiple times under extreme conditions that there was no monitoring. The parents didn't really know what the effects were going to be. So, it may have affected Lou, later on. And we knew Lou did have his problems with addiction and behavior as far as being a rebel. But true genius, changed rock and roll in a way. I'm not a Lou Reed or Velvet Underground expert, but I have a lot of their stuff. And I'm going to start off with the premise of this was BRIGID POLK. BRIGID POLK was a protege of Andy Warhol. And as you know, Andy Warhol basically got Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground off the ground, no pun intended, with their first album, which I don't have, unfortunately. I wish I did. But here's the cover. Here's my Lou Reed, Andy Warhol box set. And that's the cover of the Velvet Underground. And I believe it was the Velvet Underground and Nico, another protege of Andy Warhol. And she ended up singing with the band. Went under one name is Nico. Later on, she was back and forth with Lou. They had a relationship at one point. But this is a great box set. Here you could see the lineup from some unreleased tapes to the first record, To Load It, which was, I believe, the last record that the Velvet Underground with this lineup recorded, or some changes. But this lineup has Lou Reed, John Cale, Sterling Morrison, Maureen Tucker, Nico, and Doug Yule. And I'll show you this nice booklet inside. This is probably still available online here. The actual CDs with the actual tape boxes that the supposedly mastered from originally. I'm sure these are digital. So, but in the back is the record, the actual album cover, and it has bonus tracks. Has a really nice booklet. Really cool booklet with a lot of insight into the band. But the premise of this video was I was reading, and it mentioned the live album, Velvet Underground, live at Max's Kansas City, which was in New York City. No longer there. The club didn't last that long, but it was an infamous club for rock bands at the time, or punk bands, or anyone who wanted to come and play. There was a dinner. It was a you could have dinner there, lunch there, drinks, and so the reason this is important. Here's the inner, the original inner. This is on cotillion. It's still in the shrink, and there's the photograph there. And the reason this is an important record is it was recorded by BRIGID POLK on a portable cassette deck. She was there at a table. She used to record a lot of the live acts. She was an artist who associated herself with Andy, and her name, BRIGID POLK, is actually a type of a nickname. She would go around and she would poke you with whatever concoction she had in her needle. Usually amphetamines. I'm not sure if it was anything else, some type of stimulant. And she ended up having the name BRIGID POLK. And you can look her up, and her real name, I'll get it for you here. Bridget Berlin. Bridget Emmett Berlin, born September 6, 39, died July 17th, 2020, an American artist and Warhol superstar. But BRIGID POLK was her nickname because she would jab you with a needle back in those crazy times in the Village in New York City. But anyway, she recorded this album, Max's Kansas City, at Max's Kansas City, of the Velvet Underground. And the deal was, she did it for herself, basically keep a record of stuff that was going on. But this was the last night that the band was together. After this session at the Max's, Lou Reed left the band. So because of Bridget, we have a record of Velvet Underground in their habitat of Max's Kansas City, in that grungy little stage, smoke-filled stage. You could hear the clanging of the people talking. And also on the record is sitting with Bridget and Andy is Jim Carroll of the Jim Carroll Band, who wrote the Basketball Diaries. I played his record on his short. His famous record is People Who Died. He also has a recording of People Who Died with Lou Reed live somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but that's on YouTube. That's a great recording. And let me just go over a little bit. Let me see here. I'm just going to do these tapes that I'm talking about would later become Live at Max's Kansas City. Were recorded on August 23rd, 1970 by Andy Warhol associate BRIGID POLK on a portable cassette recording. During the recording of Loaded, the Velvet Underground held a 9-week engagement, June 24th to August 28, 1970, playing 2 sets per night at New York City nightclub Max's Kansas City. Polk had been in the habit of recording almost everything happening around her at the time, and this resulted in her capturing what turned out to be the band's last performance with Reed. Later that year, Atlantic A&R employee Danny Fields heard the tapes and submitted them to his supervisors, who accepted the recordings, and in 1972 decided to make an album of them. Despite their relatively poor fidelity, Polk had made recordings on a mono recording using a simple Ferro music cassette, resulting in tape hiss and audience noise, often audible during the music's quieter parts. Author and musician Jim Carroll can be heard speaking on the album, ordering drinks and inquiring about drugs between songs, and he was the one holding the recording microphone. The lineup for these recordings consisted of Reed, Ewell, lead guitarist Sterling Morrison, and drummer Billy Ewell, the younger brother of Doug Ewell. Regular drummer Maureen Tucker temporarily left the group several months earlier when she became pregnant with her first child. Originally live at Max's Kansas City was a single album with each side respectively devoted to the band's louder and quieter material. The songs were selected and edited from both sets by Lou Reed and Atlantic staff producer Geoff Haslam on August 3rd, 2004. Warner Music reissued it on Rhino, releasing a 2 CD deluxe edition, which I don't have, but I do have the original. So there's a complete recording on CD from Rhino, and perhaps it's even a album. But this is, when I read that, reminiscent of this album, which we all know, the Beatles live at the Star Club, Hamburg, Germany, 1962. And because someone recorded someone unauthorized recorded the Beatles at the Hamburg Club in Germany, we have this wonderful album, and we have a document of what the Beatles were like. And this was with Ringo, not with Pete Best, of what they were like in their habitat. And this is available. This is a 2 LP set. This is available on a few different labels. This is the Gem Import, which I bought years ago. I think I have a different version of this too. But same thing. If it wasn't for, some people just fooling around with a tape recorder, back then everything wasn't recorded. The technology wasn't there. So even as far as in 67, 68, it was still relatively rare. We all know Hendrix used to carry around a reel-to-reel with him, portable reel-to-reel, and that's why we have so much great bootlegs of Hendrix. He would record everything. Same with Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong used to carry his reel-to-reel, portable reel-to-reel with him, and he would tape a lot. If you have a chance, going off on a tangent here, but it's music. If you have a chance, go visit the new Louis Armstrong Museum in Queens. It's located right across the street from his little brick house that him and his wife lived for years and years. I was fortunate enough to take a tour of the house, and his music room consisted of all these reel-to-reel tapes that he would actually record and draw covers and label covers on what was on there. He would actually do collages on the cover, so that was really cool. There's also a book on. There's a book you could probably pick up at the library on Louis Armstrong's reel-to-reel covers and what's inside those reel-to-reels. But since we're talking about an important band, the Velvet Underground were an important band, just as the Beatles were an important band, and just as Louis Armstrong was the man who basically invented jazz as we know it in the 20s and 30s. But that's a whole nother genre. I love Louis Armstrong. I have a lot of Louis Armstrong. Maybe I'll do a video on Louis Armstrong. He used to call himself Louis, but people called him Louis. Louis, just a phenomenon. And just as and Lou Reed's Velvet Underground has their own level of importance, niche that, in the realm of early punk and rock and roll that changed rock and roll. Bowie picked up on the Velvet Underground, and later on, brought Lou Reed to prominence as a solo artist. But I'm going to show some of the records I have of the Velvet Underground. These were all OGs. If they're not, I will let you know. Here's the Velvet Underground Loaded. Great album. It's on Cotillion. Before I forget, I just want to read what's on here, what's on the Max's Kansas City. I forgot to do that. Here's the album. These are all classics now. I'm Waiting for the Man, Sweet Jane, Lonesome Cowboy Bill, Beginning to See the Light, I'll Be Your Mirror, which I'll talk about later, Pale Blue Eyes, Sunday Morning, New Age, Femme Fatale, and After Hours. So I just want to talk about that real quick. But I believe this is the last record that the full lineup did. The Velvet Underground Loaded. Here's the record. Here's the label. And here's the back. This is an OG. I actually got most of these through a collection I picked up. Very lucky to pick up. I was not into Lou Reed when I was buying music. I was not into the Velvet Underground. Not too many people were. The first record, which is this record with the peel, it goes for the thousands. It didn't sell at all. And anybody who has a copy with either with the banana peel off or with the banana peel on is looking at some serious money. So this has Who Loves the Sun, Sweet Jane, Rock and Roll, Cool It Down, New Age, Side 2, Head Held High, Lonesome Cowboy Bill, I Found the Reason, Train Round the Bend, and Oh Sweet Nuttin'. And this was released 1970. Next up, I have a record that came out later on, a collection of previously unreleased recordings, The Velvet Underground. And this is on Verve. They were also on Verve. A beautiful black Verve label, as you can see. And back has really great liner notes. This is in its original shrink. This is the insert, the original inner. And here's the back. This has unreleased tracks at that time. All recordings originally produced by the Velvet Underground. Recordings mixed June 1984, except Ocean, mixed June 1969. So this is a 1984 compilation. It's still in its original shrink. The price on it was Tower Records from New York City, which was $5.99. And that's Loaded. Here we have a great one. This is one that I bought. I actually bought this as a cutout. My first introduction to the Velvet Underground in my collection. And this is live. The Velvet Underground with Lou Reed. This is a great record. Great gatefold. And this has Waiting for the Man, Waiting for My Man, Lisa Says, What Goes On, Sweet Jane. We're going to have a real good time together. Femme Fatale, New Age, Rock and Roll, Beginning to See the Light, Ocean, Pale Blue Eyes, Heroin. That was 3. Heroin clocks in at almost full 10 minutes. And we have Some Kind of Love, Over You, Sweet Bonnie Brown, It's Just Too Much, White Light, White Heat, and I'll Be Your Mirror again. Here's one of the records there. It's a double record. This one here is one I bought from a collection. White Light, White Heat, The Velvet Underground stereo Verve. Black cover. And this has White Light, White Heat, The Gift, I Heard Her Call My Name, Sister Ray, which is a great, great track. And here we have the Blue Verve label. Great cover art. The back. This was actually released and this is engineered by Val Valentine, who we all know, and produced by Tom Wilson. So I'm not sure the date on this. Doesn't have a date. But this is from a collection, and I'll talk about that collection one day, but this is extremely hard to find. And this is one I bought myself. This is the reissue. My favorite Velvet Underground, my favorite Lou Reed, which I definitely recommend. This was recorded live at the Howard Stein Academy of Music, NYC. This is just a fantastic record. This is the reissue. The reissue is a gatefold. And this is true Lou Reed Transformer, which you all know is a great Lou Reed album, Transformer. Here's the hype sticker, Lou Reed Rock and Roll Animal for the reissue. And as you know, I took the shrink and kept it on the inside, on the liner, record liner. And there it is right there. And this is the legendary 74 live album, classic solo renditions of songs by the Velvet Underground, remastered under Lou's direct personal supervision. This is an RCA, but it's a reissue. And I'll show you, I have the original here somewhere. Here's another Velvet Underground. This may be their second album. Right there. This has Candy, Beginning to See the Light, Pale Blue Eyes, Jesus. Side 1, side 2. And it's really cool. There's the back. The back is, you saw the back. The back is inverted. Front cover. And this is on MGM. So they bounced around with the rights to these songs, to these recordings. But Lou Reed was a true visionary. He changed rock, pre-punk, and had a very troubled, like I said, troubled life. And later on, right up until his death. Here's the Rock and Roll Animal second reissue or first reissue on the Budget label. And this is not a gatefold, but this record sounds great. It's on the black RCA. This is a great compilation. If you don't have any Lou Reed or any Velvet Underground, pick this up, The Best of Lou Reed. Very digestible. It sounds fantastic. Walk on the Wild Side. The Best of Lou Reed. And I think I talked about this. That's the black RCA. It's kind of a little thicker than the floppy disks that they sell, but this sounds unbelievable. This is Walk on the Wild Side at the price of admission on this record. It just is so well recorded. And it's just, Bowie had a lot to do with that album, Transformer. And that's what Walk on the Wild Side's from. But this is, cover design, photos of Lou and Rachel by Mick Rock. And that's Lou and Rachel, I guess, right there. Rachel was his, I believe they were married, but definitely had a serious relationship. Lou was married, I would say 3 or 4 times. Here's a great solo album by Lou with the hype on it. This was a cutout. This is a stereo binaural sound recording produced by Lou Reed. Street Hassle. Really good album. Here it is with the hype. As you can see, Sutton Records, 399 cutout. Here's another solo, which I don't remember. I'll have to track this one, but it's Lou Reed with I Love You, Suzanne, which is a great hit. My Red Joystick, which I'll talk about. I have a 12-inch of that, which is a great. I don't know why they picked that as a 12-inch, but they did. And this is on RCA. Went back to RCA. I believe it was also with Geffen. A lot of times they would sign Lou Reed with the anticipation that he would perform, he would record something commercial, and he would go the complete opposite. So he would sign with record companies like RCA again and Geffen, and he would promise he would promise a hit. He would promise he would try to be hit. He would try to think hit, but it wasn't in Lou Reed's makeup. Lou Reed would do what he wanted to do. Most of his records didn't chart. The record he did with Metallica was a complete bomb. I think they even pulled it from the record stores. He did a record with Metallica, which was just white noise, weird feedback and things. which I don't have. I wish I did have it. I never bought it. Here's the 12-inch promo of my red joystick, and I Love You, Suzanne. That's in the back, has a remixed version. This is nice to have. It's a 12-inch generic sleeve, but with the hype. And I picked this up for $2.99. I always look for 12-inch. They always sound so good, so worth buying. My last to show you today, in today's video, is I'll Be Your Mirror, which I just picked up, a compilation of Reed songs and Velvet Underground songs. Basically Velvet Underground, written by Lou Reed. This has Sunday Morning by Michael Stipe, I'm Waiting for the Man, Matt Berringer, Femme Fatale by Sharon Van Etten, Venus in Furs, which is how they got together with the original book, Venus in Furs, Andrew Bird and Lucius, Run, 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 Kurt Vile, All Tomorrow's Parties, St. Vincent and Thomas Bartlett, Heroin, Thurston Moore featuring Bobby Gillespie, There She Goes Again, King Princess, I'll Be Your Mirror, there's I'll Be Your Mirror, title track, title of the album, Courtney Barnett, The Black Angels Death Song, Fontaine's DC, and European Sun by Iggy Pop and Matt Sweeney. Iggy was a contemporary of Lou. And we all know Iggy and the Stooges. That's similar trajectory as Velvet Underground. And that's a classic mock-up of the first Velvet Underground record. So that's it. I just wanted to basically get this off my chest. Thanks for watching. Pick up that Lou Reed, Best of Lou Reed if you can. If you don't have anything on Lou Reed or Velvet Underground, and Rock and Roll Animal. Rock and Roll Animal is I consider one of the best live albums ever recorded. It's just the sound's fantastic. The guitars in that record are just it's like a 15 out of 10. So keep rocking. Thanks for dropping in. And Elvis is over here with Bond. And that's all I have to say. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Please have a safe weekend. And we'll see you soon. Keep rocking. Bye-bye.